And the way that it is broken out is well known to me as, if I may borrow this here. All right. So you have your current assets. And you have your current liabilities. I'm going to say other assets too, for long term. Current liabilities, long-term liabilities, and then shareholders' equity. Shareholders' equity. All right, and then you have your total of all these. Okay? And then this is running out on me. This right here needs to be equal. All of your assets need to be equal to all of your liabilities in the balance sheet. And so the balance sheet, let me help to understand this. Does everybody have visibility onto this page right here? Your balance sheet is a very, very important financial statement for your business. And oftentimes the lender will have this in some form on their application too, because they'll ask you how many assets you have in your business. They'll ask you about your personal financial situation as well, but then they'll also ask about your debts. How many debts do you have in the form of credit cards, in the form of loans, in the form of mortgage, right? So they're running through this whole thing to try to find out how liquid you are, which means basically, can you cover all of your expenses in the short term, 1 year, right? Or how solvent you are. In the long term, are you going to be able to pay all your bills? That's everything a year or more. But that's how the balance sheet works. Short-term assets, short-term liabilities. Oh, I forgot to write that too. All right, so I'm going to put a division here. This is your total assets. This is all your total liabilities. You have short-term current assets to current liabilities. And then you have your long-term assets, long-term liabilities. The balance sheet moves in a way of liquidity. So your current assets is your cash, it's your inventory, it's your good old account receivables, right? So that's your cash, right? How much money you have in the bank. And then everything else, for your other long-term assets are the things that you really can't convert into cash immediately. That might take more time, like some of your big, heavy equipment or land or buildings, right? I don't know if we can sell buildings in a year at this point in time. But the thing is that, what this is helping you to do is to say, you know what, as a business owner, I need to know, do I have a clock ticking on me right now? Is the lender going to look at this and say, you know what, I can't meet my obligations in a year. You know why? Because all my money is out there on the street. Yeah, I've made the sales. It's great. I can talk a talk. I can kind of walk the walk, but I'm not really, because I'm really not collecting. That's one of the first things that the balance sheet tells you. This is what a manager-owner needs to know about the business is, are you collecting? In other words, when you look at your current assets, how much is in cash compared to how much is in your account receivable? Are you just amazingly rich within the account receivable and have very little cash to speak of, right? That's the situation you want to avoid, because what happens to account receivables after a while is that they become like fresh fish. Fresh fish that's old stinks, right? So you want to make sure that you engage in the high contact sport of being involved in collections in your business. It will break some of the most talented, best entrepreneurs out there, is the account receivables. And that doesn't happen with like net 30, you're waiting. Net 60, I'll give them a little more time. Then you quickly call up the phone and say, I need my money. No, what you have to do is you have to send them the invoice and say, you know what, if you pay within 10 days, I'll give you a 1% discount, or 2% discount, 5% discount, right? If you pay in 30 days, you pay the regular price. You pay over 30 days, there's a penalty, and that's when we get on this process, and here's how this process works. Now you know, right? 30 days, you give them a call, you send them a letter. You go visit them, right? You never let go of that. You don't kind of wait, silence, silence, silence. Gotta pay my rent! No, it's gotta work from the beginning. Okay? So, I'm trying to make the financial statements exciting. All right, so that's your account receivables, and that is up in the current assets. The other thing that we're watching here is the company pay its bills. For short-term liabilities, we have account payables, right? That's that other thing. That's the people who are bothering us every day, right? Or the ones who are calling us saying that they got to pay their rent. So account payables is in your short-term liabilities. That means how much do you owe to all of your vendors? And do they give you good terms? Are you meeting those terms? If you're not, that might be in your Dun & Bradstreet report. You might have other things going on. That doesn't bode well. But are you able to pay your bills? A lender is going to look at the total of all your current assets. In other words, how much can you liquidate in a year compared to how much you have to pay within a year. And if that number is just too close, you're a high-risk proposition for that bank. They may not lend to you, right? And you wouldn't either. Next one is, does your company control inventory? We also saw in the current assets, you have your cash, you have your account receivables, you also have your inventory as a current asset. If you go to a lender and you say, I want a loan to buy some inventory, right? And the lender's going to say, but you have a whole bunch of inventory compared to your sales. In other words, you're sitting on this stuff. You can't move this stuff. It shows that you don't really know how to turn over the inventory that you're getting in your business. So this form shows you, this financial statement shows you, are you selling what you're buying? Can you really turn that stuff around and get it out there? The other thing too is, are you too lean? Do you keep it too close? Because having no inventory can also be a bad problem, right? Who knows how we behave when we don't get a roast beef sandwich? And the next one is, are the officers committed to the company? I wrote SH equity, shareholders' equity. Owners invest, owners lend to the business, and in that part you can see how much skin the owners have in the game. And so banks really favor that very well. It means that you're on board, you're invested in this, you want this business to succeed. And so looking at this balance sheet, you can find out, is this a company that wants us to become the 100% shareholder of this business, or are we actually helping them do what they want to do? And do they have something to lose? And that's what shareholders' equity does. The other part of shareholders' equity is this last part. Does the business have a profitable operating history? There's something called retained earnings in the balance sheet. And what that basically is it's not a cash value. It's just the number that gets calculated through all of this stuff. But what that number is, it's actually the sum of the net income plus the dividends you've paid out over time. If that number is really small, and you've been in business for 10 years, and that number is small compared to your recent annual sales, it shows that that business has had a lot of trouble making money, because there's not a lot there in that pot of retained earnings. And so you can see that if it's really big, that they've had a very successful operating history, it's really calculated well over time, that they've just been able to put a lot there into the retained earnings. And it's too much to go into the calculation of this too. But it's basically all of your net income, net loss, every single year from your income statement, plus the dividends that you have paid out every year, plus or minus, the dividends that you have paid out every year, and it comes to a total. This sheet, as I had mentioned, is the one that kind of lives forever. The income statement, you're done for that period, you close the books, you're finished. Don't have to look at 2008 again, I'm so sick of that year, I'm going to start 2009. This is the one that actually hangs out, and this holds on to your history and the information for you. So as managers and owners, these are the questions that you want to be able to ask of your balance sheet.